If you enjoy our videos and podcasts and would like us to continue putting out regular quality content, head over to patreon.com/aircrewinterview, where you can donate monthly, and in return you will get rewards ranging from early interview viewings, bonus clips, credited as a producer, and much more. Thank you and enjoy. Yeah, let's talk about some of the aircraft you started training on. And did you experience any sexism while you were going through that training course on, I'm guessing the Tucano and then obviously the Hawk?
Yeah, so I did joint elementary flying training on the Slingsby Firefly. And then we weren't meant to do that, actually, because we had so many hours. There was a whole host of us that came from universities. And they said, well, you've got so many hours and there's so much backlog in the system. We're going to stick you straight onto Tucanos. But then we ended up holding for so long. They went... Actually, it's going to be 2 years before you get to Tucanos. We do need to give you some hours. So we did do a very quick course, a short course on joint elementary flying training. And then from there we did Tucano. And I was sort of with a band of brothers. I use that as a literal term. Yeah. But it was mainly men. In fact, I had one woman on one course I was on Tucanos, which was fantastic. And then I went off to Valley, flying the Hawk. Again, I was with the same guys. And, they were like family. And they were like my support network. I never really thought of myself as being massively different, if I'm honest, because I was just one of them. And also there were a couple more pilots on my intake. So we had Mitch Tompkins, who went on to become the first female Harrier pilot. We had a wonderful, girl, Judith, who went over to America, and she did her fast jet training over there. And then sadly, the system was a bit flawed. When she came back, she ended up being sent to fly helicopters. So she ended up going back to her roots and becoming a doctor again. But we did have quite a few women going through, and we had Soraya Marshall, who is now the highest ranking female aircrew in the Air Force ever, which is brilliant. So there was a great, batch of women that were going through. So we didn't feel we stuck out hugely like a sore thumb. When I got to Valley, though, it was interesting because 3 years previously, they'd had the situation where they'd had the very first women coming through the system. And that was Jo Salter, and there were two other girls. And two of the girls were struggling a little bit. But politically, the Air Force really wanted to get them to the front line. And so it was a bit difficult. They were being given additional hours and things. And a lot of the guys were got a bit hacked off with it because they felt it was unfair. And actually, it was the girls that took themselves out of the course in the end and said, this is not right. There's a safety implication to it. Jo went on and became the first Tornado pilot. But what I'm saying for that reason is when we got to fly the Hawks 3 years later, there was still that sort of animosity towards, we're not here to be forced to put these girls through the system again. But there was a slight change because you do 3-year tours of duty. A lot of those people had moved on. So actually there was a fresh batch of instructors. So we were seeing change, and there was real feeling of change afoot, which was brilliant. And you know what? I got so much encouragement. I mean, but just talking on minor things, it was one of the guys on my course said, Mans, I've got to have a word with the boss. And I said, why? And he said, we don't like the way every single instructor says one sexist comment to you a day. And I said, what? And they said, well, as I would walk in from the jets, one would go, we can tell which one's Mandy's flown. It's not parked straight. They were really meant in, no one meant it vindictively. Genuinely, I mean that. But you were getting 20 comments a day. Mm-hmm. And the guys on my course picked up on that, and they didn't like it. So they went to the boss and said, can you just have a word with the instructors and get them to stop singling Mandy out with these constant comments? Because
so you didn't personally go and report anything yourself? No, I actually
I felt almost embarrassed. I said, no. I said, oh gosh, when I got called into the office, I said, sir, is this going to look bad on me? And he said, no, not at all. He said, none of the guys realise they're doing it. And I think that's it. When you're looking at change within an organisation, people often don't realise they're doing it. And it's only when somebody highlights it, as we're seeing at the moment, with the Black Lives Matter, it needs to sometimes be brought up to the forefront of people's thinking to get some change to happen.